Ibno, hope you're well. I hope you are well. So let me just, I think we're live on Facebook. Just double check that. Yeah, cool. We are. So good to go. I'm sure a few more will start joining us as we get going. So tonight I just want to get a bit of traction on the week, make sure we're all a bit pumped up and motivated and ready to rock and roll. Kind of figure out any problems that we do have. And also just share, a bit of like what's working. Let's focus on some positives and share with the group. I think it's good to bring, everyone into the same frame. You're all working in the same container. We're all trying to achieve very similar things. So not a bad idea to kind of share what's working. So I kind of probably want to go there if you want to just have a little rack of your brain and get a few things ready to discuss. What's working, what kind of help we need, and then we can kind of thrash that out and help everyone else. I've been obviously boxing with a few years over the last couple of days to just iron a few issues out, but also get you maybe heading on the right track. And everyone's got different problems at different phases, but most of it is stuff that I've been through. And, I know there's a couple on here that I think we'll just go through the logistics of how an SA operation works once you actually got a unit. I think that'll be quite helpful right now. But I think first and foremost, just want to kind of do a quick whip around the room. So, Mike, if you want to start, kind of what successes have you had? What's been working? What could help other people?
So, well, this week I haven't really done too much to move forward. I've been on a couple of viewings, but I've been working on the background of the business, just setting things up, just organising insurance and sort of like lists for my SA that I'm just purchasing down in Exeter at the moment. Put an offer in on a rent-to-rent property as well. Went down to see the lady in Paynton and put in an offer on that. I'm just waiting for her to get back to me. That only went in yesterday.
What's kind of rather than like activity that you've done, what activity is working?
So my direct to vendor letters went really well. I had a lot of hits off of that compared to the last ones. And
did you change anything?
Yeah, I put my personal number on rather than my business number. So I had a chat with the guy who does manages the adverts for Heart Radio today, because I was thinking about doing a radio advert. And he said that because he thought I was in London because my business got a London number, but I just chose that to make it seem a bit bigger. So I think that maybe because people around here might have been put off by that originally on the original letters. So putting my personal number on there works a bit better. I think that's what it could be due to. So they went quite well. And to be honest, the last few days I haven't really done too much that I could say that I can recommend. I could say this worked for me. I've just been going through the motions every day, doing my my advertising, my social media presence stuff, and just sort of just working on the logistics side of what needs to be done for the up and coming units, basically.
Okay, cool. So direct to vendor letter, mobile number rather than phone number. What was the wording of the letter in brief? What were the kind of key points?
It was more sort of getting to the key points that they're working really hard and they need help, rather than just saying this is what I do. It was more like, look, I understand what you're going through and I can help you out by sort of offering this, and this. And also that I buy properties. I stuck there at the end because the original template for this letter was for rent to rent, and on the bottom underneath my signature I put PS. We also buy properties, so I had quite a few calls regarding that as well. But yeah, that was the main sort of gist of the letter.
And in terms of where you were sending them to, was it where did you pull the data from? How did you position that data to make sure that you got a decent response rather than just chucking shit at a wall and hoping something sticks type scenario?
Well, their data. What do you mean, like where I got their addresses and where I sent it out from?
Yeah, so like who are you trying to target?
The HMO landlords. It's from the HMO register
Okay.
for 2 areas, and then just wax them on stamp and send them out. So
Yeah, I think one thing that does work quite well with the HMO register is not going down the HMO rent to rent route, because that's what everyone else is trying to do. So if you come from a different angle on that list, there are a lot of tired landlords on HMO register lists, which is probably why you get more phone calls to sell rather than maybe for rental. But as you say, it opens up some doors, and it does open up some opportunities by just getting out there and having that as part of your marketing strategy. So cool, well done. Oh, we got Samantha. I know you've been very busy and sort of kicking on quite hard. So, kind of what's been working?
Yeah, so I've been sharing a lot of our journey on social media of how we transformed a old student let into our new SA, and it's created a lot of interest from people in the inbox wanting to know what we're doing, following the journey. I've had people who I didn't realise were landlords on my social media who are interested to see what we're doing with these properties, and that how we are really good tenants compared to what they're usually used to in an AST. So I've kind of focused on that because we haven't had chance to go viewings because I've been so busy. We've been quite hands-on with this last SA, doing it up and stuff.
Yeah. Okay, cool. We do always say, documenting your journey definitely, helps, and has definitely helped me. So, well done for doing that and getting out there. And, I think a lot of people can be scared of posting on Facebook, but, just be real and be you. And that's all you can do, really. And then, people will come forth and want to work with you if they resonate with you. So, I do advocate doing it. I do a lot of it. So it does work well. Okay, cool. Connor?
Yeah, how are we doing?
I'm all right.
So the one essay I've got at the moment, it's now full for a month. And that's from, I spoke to you about it, that's the same guy. And that's through advertising on Gumtree.
Okay.
So he got in touch with me a while back and then just sort of went quiet. And then popped up again sort of about 3 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Just he's relocating at the minute and needed somewhere to stay for, he wanted it for 2 months, but because I've got too many bookings in July, I couldn't really offer it for 2 months. So sorted it out for a month. So I think now he's going to be in there. It's sort of not a weight off my shoulders, but I'll be able to focus on getting another one without sort of trying to make sure that one's filled.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So Gumtree is always a good place to put things, for, as you say, that sort of longer term booking, but shorter than an AST, because there is that market. I had a phone call today asking if I had anything for a friend who needs a place for a month because they're renovating the house, but because he can't find anything from estate agents. Well, he's not going to find anything from estate agents because no landlords will rent anything to them for less than 6 months. So, but yeah, back to viewings, back to building the pipeline, I think, and getting those deals over the line, and we've got to keep the deal flow pipeline full, and I think make sure that we're focusing on kind of one avenue, which is probably something that we need to maybe focus on a bit, Mike, with yourself, is let's choose an avenue for the next 4 weeks and really hammer home on that. I think obviously your D2D lenders are working. We've picked up a BRR project. We've picked up a potential HMO type purchase on some form of option, and I think next is let's just, I would say probably just let's see how hard we can hit rent to rent for 4 weeks and just see if we can blow that up a bit. But plenty of good stuff and plenty of options. Stephen, what about yourself? Are you with us?
Yeah, mate, I'm here. Just popping on doing stuff at the same time.
That's all right. So what's been working well for you?
I've just been busy setting up this first essay, really. Did a lot of it myself. so been very busy doing that, and was a bit more to it than I expected to begin with. But it's looking good now though, and it's just taking a 5-week booking. So I haven't really been. I don't think there's anything I could really say has been. I guess next time I'll definitely be getting some help in rather than doing it all myself.
Yeah, you kind of. I mean, I must say it a million times, but it doesn't matter. I did the same. I heard it myself. You know, don't do your own DIY. Don't put your own things together. But you're like, yeah, I'm just going to ignore that, and I'm just going to do it myself because I'll save a few quid. And I did the same myself. Yeah. But good lessons to learn, and you realize how much time and effort it does take to go into setting a unit up, especially if you're doing it all yourself. So, you know, you then look at, okay, well, what's the opportunity cost of doing that? What have I left on the table by, you know, spending all that time setting it up rather than just paying someone, you know, a bit of money. Also, what will tend to happen, I'll be right in thinking you've probably been setting it up around your job and every bit of free time that you've got. So you'll have been like a couple of hours here, a couple of hours there, a couple of hours there, and it's taking you like maybe 2 weeks to get it done. Whereas you could have just hired someone for 250 quid to set it up in a day or maybe 2 days. And then you could have had that property live. And that 5-week booking you've just got, you might have also had a week booking in between that, which would have more than paid for the person to set that up. So it's kind of understanding that the quicker you get them open, the quicker you'll get the cash in. And sometimes that cash can pay for the actual extra setup period. It's, you know, it's like a good example at the minute is I'm re-carpeting and flooring one of my units down in Sunderland, and I've been umming and ahhing over like 170 quid on the fitting charge because I think the ripping is off on it. But we've been closed now an extra couple of days, so it's like I could have actually just made that money up if we'd been open, if I just agreed to it, and we, you know what I mean. So it's like sometimes you're better off just get it done and get it live and get it open. But what I want to run through, because I know you had some questions as well, and I know Samantha had some questions as well on sort of essays. Setups. So I think what I want to do is just, you know, make sure everyone understands kind of where we are, what happens, because I think there's a bit of confusion about like how you put all these systems and softwares together. So, and feel free, anybody, Stephen especially, because I know you've boxed me on this, to like hop off mute and ask questions as I go through this, or if it's like something else that you need explaining. But in essence, right, we have our OTAs. Now, these will typically be, you know, Airbnb, Booking.com, Vrbo. Vrbo actually goes out to a lot of units, so Hotels.com, Expedia, places like that. You've then got these will be connected via what they call API feeds. Okay.
Just a quick one with Vrbo. So you have to manually change the price on there, don't you? It's not, you can't do it through uplisting. Not yet, anyway. Because I've got all mine through uplisting, and then I spoke to the like the support because my Vrbo price wasn't changing, but the calendar was syncing. And she said they don't actually, so you have to like manually change it on Vrbo.
I'm trying to think. Are you connected with HomeAway? Are you connected with Vrbo?
Vrbo, I think.
See, I was under the impression that these 3 API feeds. So
I think she was saying that you have to have 5 or 6 or something.
Yeah, to have an API feed. Yeah. So anything less than 5, you'll have an iCal feed.
Okay, yeah. And you just have to change it yourself.
Yeah, but when you get an API feed, everything syncs automatically.
Okay.
Now, an API feed is basically so API equals instant. So if you get a booking on Airbnb, it'll automatically take it off Airbnb.com like straight away within seconds. An iCal feed is basically the server refreshes every 45 minutes typically. So you can see here, if you get a booking on, like, let's say, for example, you have a Verbo iCal feed and you get a booking on Verbo and then it's just done its sync, it won't take it off Airbnb or booking.com for 45 minutes. So you're exposed for 45 minutes where another booking could come in. It's not the end of the world, don't get me wrong, because these are where your main bookings will come from, Airbnb and booking.com. So it's not going to cause too much hassle. But your APIs is instant. Your iCals refresh every 45 minutes. You can add many other iCals in there. TripAdvisor, Agoda. There's loads of other ones you can add in there if you want, but you know they're kind of the main ones. So
is Verbo fairly new, and is it sort of getting bigger now?
No. So Verbo. So basically, Verbo used to be called HomeAway, and I think Expedia, which used to be part of the Expedia group.
Oh, yeah.
But then Expedia Group owns like hotels.com, travel, something or other.com. They have like so many different sister websites. But I think then they decided to kind of rebrand as Verbo and pull it all together as one and then feed you out. So that's kind of how that works now. And then what we have is, so that they're your channels, right? And unfortunately, with the OTAs, you have to set them up on the OTAs initially. There's no getting away from that. It would be great if you could just set them up on your channel manager and then everything would be great, but you can't. So you then have your channel manager, which is your hub. And this is where everything kind of flows out of. And this is kind of your hub. So you have, once you've set everything up on the OTAs, obviously you connect your channel manager, and then you would connect your pricing software, and then you would connect your cleaning software. You don't have to have a cleaning software. Uplisting, for example, does have a cleaning solution. It's not good enough for my business, just based on what we need to do in terms of photographs and, you know, reporting and things like that, so we can get sight on all the properties. But it's probably not a bad solution for if you've got less than probably 5 or 10 properties. It's not a bad idea. Keep costs down. So and then it also acts as a communication tool for guests. And then the main one is the verification tool. So if you plug in ID, if you plug in deposit with a Stripe account, and if you plug in your guest contract for e-sign, then basically when a booking comes from a channel, it comes straight into your channel manager software. It starts to communicate, thank you very much for booking, here's a link to complete your booking, and they have to do their ID, they have to do their deposit, they have to do their guest contract. And then the system will only issue door codes, or however you've set it up, the information that you want based on these triggers being completed. If it hasn't done it, it will continue to remind them they need to pay a deposit. It will continue to remind them they need to upload their ID until the date of stay. So that's how a channel manager works, and then that's how the OTAs work. Now, like everything, they are just technology, they are data, they don't necessarily always work amazing. So what you can do is you can either be proactive or reactive. Now, guest management. So with your being reactive is basically not doing anything and waiting for the guest to call with issues. I haven't got my lockbox code. I haven't got this. What addresses I'm going to, blah, blah, blah. If you live in this world here, you will start to hate serviced accommodation. Okay? So what we have to do is get proactive. And this is how we do it. So in ClickUp, we use a software called ClickUp. Very similar to like Asana or Trello. What we basically do is we have come on. So we have this guest management flow. So within the flow, you'll see here we've got 142 guests in the queue. We've had 8 cancellations come in, so we need to marry them up and take them out the queue. And then we just move them along this system. So the girls will know you can filter this by, you know, who's due in today or whatever date, maybe the next couple of days, because we always get 48 hours ahead. And then it will show us who's 48 hours ahead. Have they paid? Do they need to make a payment? ID not verified, contract not signed, deposit not collected, guest not contacted, waiting to move in. So this means they've completed everything and they're just about to move in. That means they're in stay. This means they've checked out. If there's any damage that we need to claim, we'll have them in here. And then we chase them for a Google review. And then once they're completed, they go off this board after a while. So we move them, you know, we just move the cards along depending on what stage they're in. And that means that whoever comes in on whatever day can just log into this system, go to sort by due date. Okay, what's due in the next 48 hours? Right, okay, these are due, like this person's due today. So, you know, they haven't verified their ID and neither of these. So they will not be getting door codes. So chances are if we don't do something about this, they're going to be on the phone saying, I haven't got my lockbox code, blah, blah, blah. And then we'll be saying, well, you haven't done your ID. And they'll be like, I'm stood outside in the piss and rain. And you're like, well, tough shit. You need to upload your ID. It doesn't provide the best customer experience, you know, but at the same time, we have to protect the business because I've been caught foul of that before. And, you know, and then we end up in a worse situation. So we want to be getting ahead of the game here. So most of them, 95% of them we get in touch with and we make sure that when they're in this stage here, awaiting moving, that everything's done. And we'll also be saying to them on the phone, like, you know, you'll be getting your, you'll be getting your address and your lockbox codes and everything 24 hours before. Please keep an eye on the email. The email that we have for you is XYZ, based on, you know, your verification and blah, 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 blah. And then we will also go into what you're here for, how long you're here for, are you working with anybody else, whatever it might be, etc., etc. And, you know, that gives us an opportunity to pick up more direct bookings. So it's really important that we have a flow here. And then basically with the ClickUp, Asana, Trello sort of flow, you're getting ahead of any problems, which reduces the number of calls you get from guests, and it automates your system as much as you possibly can.
Just a quick one with, so, you know, we should have our, like on Airbnb, we should have it on instant booking. Mm-hmm. I had someone sort of inquire the other day basically saying, can they have a gathering? In other words, can they have a party there? To which obviously I said no for X, Y, and Z. But because it's on instant booking, if they just went ahead and booked anyway, then there's not much I can do.
Yeah, well, all you do is just ring Airbnb and say you're not comfortable with the booking, and then Airbnb has to get involved.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
And then they get involved. So you're allowed to ring any OTA and say you're not comfortable with the booking, and they will get involved and stop them going.
Okay. Right.
And you know, if you need the property off, you've got a handyman, you've got a cleaner, and you are that worried, you can just go and change the lockbox code. So any codes that are on the system, you can also, if someone's done an instant book and you didn't want it to happen, if they don't do this part, then the door codes are not going to get released for that property. So you'll probably have time to get into your channel manager and just disable the door codes for that particular booking or that particular property for like that period of time.
Yeah. How do you, because I don't have a contract they need to sign. So if they do like an instant booking, how do I then attach the contract that they need to sign? Is that through Uplisting?
Yeah, so Uplisting, they've got like an e-sign feature. So, and you just upload the guest contract. My guest contract is in Kajabi, which is there for you guys to copy. So, and then that goes into Kajabi and into Uplisting, and then it just forms part of this verification bit.
Okay. So what do they sign it through? What platform?
Uplisting. So do you know when Uplisting sends the verification page to say you need to upload your ID, you need to pay any deposit, etc., it's just another addition to that there, and it just sits, and then they've got a ticket, and they just e-sign it on the screen.
Okay.
A very, very simple, straightforward tool. And this is just all about deterring any idiots. You know, the majority of people are fine. This is just about deterring any idiots. But this here is like how you have to run the business. If you want to scale and you don't want to get caught up in the operations, you need to have a proactive system that moves the guests through a flow and doesn't really involve too much human interaction in a reactive way. You know, a pleasant phone call ahead of their stay not only helps you pick up more direct bookings, but it stops you getting pissed off clients when they're stood in the rain and haven't bothered to check their email address because they didn't know that that's how they were going to get that lockbox code or whatever it might be, you know. And we do that and get ahead of the game. And by putting this in play, we get less than, I think we're at about 0.73 calls per guest at the minute. So less than one call per guest that stays with us, which, you know, I think is pretty good. And it shows that this is you know, the systems work. And I've had this system in play for quite some time. And it works very well as a flow tool. And it also keeps on track of, have I been paid? Have they signed their ID? So it helps you track. And then when you get big enough and you're getting someone to actually do this for you, then you just show them the system. You say, this is what we do, the bookings. So these bookings as well, these automatically come into here the minute an uplisting booking has been created through Zapier. So, so I basically, so the bookings are zapped in through Zapier into the board, and then the girls just log into that board, and it's just like moving them through the stages. So very, very, very simple. And that's how you can scale these bad boys and keep everything simple, because I see it time and time again where people, they're just running around like idiots because they don't have themselves organized on the back end with these systems and processes. And, you know, it's really important that you kind of layer all that out and get that all in place. And then obviously afterwards you want to be, you know, making sure that they've had a nice stay, trying to get a nice Google review or Facebook review or whatever on your business page or on your website. And, you know, just moving things in the right direction for your business. So that's that. Has anybody got any questions? I know Steve and Samantha were kind of a bit overwhelmed, I would say, with what's going on that front. But if anyone has any questions, please just shoot up now.
Yeah, I got one, Ryan. That's quickly. Your cleaning software, what's that do?
So my cleaning software is called Get Properly. Properly, something like that. What that does is it basically it sends the cleaner a job in whatever region they're in. They have to accept the job. If they don't accept it, again, my team are looking at that. So they'll be like saying, right, 48 hours ahead, that job's still not accepted. So we're proactively making sure that we have a scheduled clean. When they're there, they GPS check in and out. I pay them per hour. So they can't check in on the bus and clock an extra 20 minutes, you know, as they're driving to the property. So it actually shows if they've checked in and checked out at the location of the property. So that protects my wallet. So I'm not overpaying cleaners. Then They have a 96-point checklist with it'll show them, like, say, for example, a living room, and it'll say you got to clean the TV screen, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do that, and you got to leave the remote there. You need to hoover that floor, you need to do this. So you just drag and drop little icons. So they have to complete that. I think there's anywhere from 16 to 20 photos that they have to upload after they've finished to show that the place is immaculate, it's cleaned, it's ready to go. There's a comments chat function, so they can communicate with head office to basically, if they walk into a party and say, this is going to need more than the scheduled 1.5 hour clean. I know there's a guest due in at 3 o'clock. It's 1 o'clock now. This is going to take 4 hours. Then we will preempt the guests that maybe we're going to have to delay their arrival or whatever it might be. And they can also file damages within that report. So this serves two purposes. One, helps us file claims with either Airbnb host guarantee or with the guest directly and take their deposit from them. So if we ever had to go to court to prove that why we've taken their deposit off them, we can do that. And it also then helps us arrange maintenance. So again, I've got a system for that. So within here, we have a maintenance board. So the girls will come and drop maintenance jobs, as you see here, job queue, 42, and then they go through, bang, 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 and I'm going to complete it. So they then come in, they'll pull a report every night, and whatever maintenance is there, they then see, right, what maintenance is critical, what maintenance is a priority, what maintenance can we get away with? And I kind of work on the two, what's the word I'm looking for? Two mention rule type. If one guest mentions something like the walls scuff, for example, we might not run out and put that in the maintenance board because things do get scuffed. The pictures might say, okay, it's not great, but we can probably get away with it. But then if another guest comes in straight away and says, I had a nice stay, but the wall was terrible, it looks terrible, then we'd say, right, okay, we've had two complaints about that same issue, let's go and get it fixed. So then it goes into the board. But if, let's say, someone's punched a hole through a door and we've got guests going in that day, then that will go into the maintenance board as an absolute priority. And we will then, arrange to get that fixed straight away. So the maintenance team, they just pick up that, they've got their own logins to that maintenance board, and then they just work on, okay, right. And then I'm in that location, I can do that and get to that and do that and do that. So that one software for me does quite a lot. And it also helps us pay the wages at the end of the week as well, because if this GPS check-in and check-out, so we just pull a report, we know how many minutes each cleaner's had, and we just then pay them their wages. So it does a lot, but it's entirely up to yourselves whether you want to use it. The actual running of the software is not expensive, but they do charge a setup fee, which if you've only got a few units might be expensive. But for me, it's an absolute necessity having, properties all over, well, not even just the UK now, but properties all over, 2 continents. I need to have visibility on what's going on without actually having to ever go near a property.
So to run your SA business, you've got to have your OTA software, your pricing software, your cleaning software, your communication tool, your verification tool, which is your Stripe account, your guest contract through eSign, your ClickUp or your Asana, whichever one you use, your cleaning one, I've said that, and your Zapier as well. So that's like 7 different bits of software. Is there not just one that does everything?
If there was, what do you think my answer would be?
Well, I think we should make one. I think there's loads. There's a gap in the market. Let's invent it.
No, yeah. I mean, obviously the OTAs look after themselves. They're just websites, really. Channel managers. There are channel managers that have tried to specialize in everything, but they just can't. Pricing software is a unique thing. The way that they pull the data and they analyze it. Most channel managers will do cleaning, communication tool, verification tool. So within your channel manager, but the cleaning software within a channel manager is nowhere near as complex as that. So it just depends how deep you want to go with it. I say it all the time, like, you know, good businesses are sold for the systems and processes that are under the hood. This is why I would be able to sell my business, because I've put all this together and can make it work, which makes it scalable. Whereas so many people struggle to put it together. I mean, you have got so many hours in here, and tens of thousands of guests have tried and tested sort of solutions to get to this software set up here of this system and process.
But that's what I was thinking. You say you put hours in here. I mean, this is the thing. When I get a few, obviously, you know, you get employees, but to start off with, you know, this is a lot of time organized, especially on your ClickUp, like going through or moving them across, working out who's done what each day, who's signed it off, and you know, that's quite a bit of effort, isn't it?
It is, but listen, you know, making millions isn't easy, and if it was, everyone would be doing it. So, you know, you've got to get it going. You've got to figure it out. But the great thing, obviously, you guys, you've invested in yourselves to work with me. I'm giving you the solution. You know, I had to figure all that out myself. So you guys have a plug and play solution there, and obviously, any questions you've got on it, you can just ask me, and we can get it sorted for you. But ultimately, someone still has to run the system, right? So you can automate a lot of it, and that's what I'm talking about here by being proactive rather than reactive, and making sure that you are automating as much of it as you possibly can. But ultimately, someone still needs to check the ClickUps. Someone still needs to move them through. But the good news is, once you scale to like 3-4 units, you can get a virtual assistant to do that like 1-2 hours a day, max 10 hours a week. So it's not expensive. You know, it's not a difficult process to do as long as you are working 48 hours ahead of the game. You know, and you know, we are in the hospitality game here, so there's no getting away from last minute bookings. There's no getting away from, you know, midnight bookings when you might be asleep and things like that. That's just the way it rolls. I'm quite strict with my messaging on channels from my channel manager. It basically says like our office hours are this. If you're trying to reach us outside of these office hours, no one will be available. You know, if you have an emergency, such as a fire or whatever it might be, please call the emergency services. So we don't, and we say that in all of our adverts, we are not a 24/7 business. We operate from X in the morning till X at night on these days, different on the weekend days. And outside of that, you need to do X. And that's the way we work. But we can do that because we're proactively getting in touch with these guests before they stay, and we're asking any questions that they might have problems with. Do you know where you're going? Do you know where you... I mean, even if you want to take it another layer deep, within your channel manager here, what we have is obviously all of our automated messages, which within the automated messages, they go from 2 weeks out, 1 week out, 3 days out, 1 day out, the day of, the day after they've stayed, and the day of check-in plus the day after check-in. Check out and check out. So we've probably got 8 messages that go to a guest that books more than 2 weeks out. Now, within those messages, there's various different things, you know, including lockbox codes, Wi-Fi. So you've got like your lockbox, you've got your Wi-Fi details, you've got your access, detailed access, detailed parking and access details. So if the lockbox is on some wall somewhere, then we'll do that. We have a 3 words location. If you haven't explored this, basically someone has mapped the whole world to 3 squares. All right. You put in your postcode and your door number, it will put a pinpoint to within 3 squares of your front door. So we will use 3 words locations, not only for the front door of the property, but also if we've got any lock boxes that might not be exactly where the property is. We've got some flat blocks where we've got them around the corner or in the car park or whatever it might be. So we'll have a 3 words location. They just click on that. It opens up a map. It shows them where they are and where they need to get to, and they just get to it. Again, it's been proactive around, you know, making sure that the guests aren't ringing us and saying, I cannot find the lockbox. Where is it? You know? So because I don't want my team to be hassled. I want us to have, and I don't want the guests to feel hassled. I want them to have a smooth transition all the way through. So, so that messaging system does all that as well. There's probably a few things I'm missing off there that we normally tell the guests as well, in terms of, upsell items and things like that. We will do things like that. So we'll do upsell items. We will do vouchers for local restaurants, nightclubs, etc. So all deals that I've struck up with people. So it does do a lot if you want to put it all together. Or what I would say is you need to put it all together. And yeah, it sounds like a bit of an onerous task first time round, but it's once it's done, it's done. It's set for life.
I was just going to say, Ryan, with uplisting, I've found that obviously I'll need to, once I scale, I'll need to download and get more sort of software and stuff that you're using. But at the moment, with just one, I'm finding that uplisting does quite a lot of it.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, no, uplisting does do a lot.
I don't think I haven't got too stuck as of yet with stuff that uplisting can't do.
Yeah, uplisting does a lot. That's for sure. You can do a hell of a lot with uplisting, and that's why I like it, and that's why I've partnered with them, and that's why I sort of shout from the rooftops about them, because I think they are a great channel manager, and it does do a lot of the stuff that you need at both a starter level and also at a high end level as well, a volume level.
Yeah, just a quick one with the deposit, because I think this is the sort of thing I'm leaving myself open to: the ID, the guest contract, and the deposit. I'm just sort of leaving the deposit down to Airbnb, because I think, do they take a deposit or something?
Airbnb don't take a deposit unless you state that you want to take a deposit, but they have a host guarantee.
Yeah.
So you can claim, I think they've got a $500,000 insurance policy. So as long as you follow the host guarantee to the letter of the law in terms of how you claim, because they've got certain little quirky rules in there about, you cannot have the next guest check in before you've sent your claim in and all that sort of stuff. As long as you tick all those boxes and you can provide the invoices, you can provide the damage photographs, etc. You start your claim against the guest first and foremost. If they then decline it, you take it to a host guarantee, and then they'll approve it 9 times out of 10, and then you get paid out. So you don't necessarily need deposits for Airbnb guests, but Booking.com guests you do, because Booking.com they are zero help. Guest wrecks your property, they're not interested.
How do you take the deposit through Stripe?
It's all automatic through uplisting. You connect your Stripe account to uplisting, and it all happens automatically.
Oh, okay, yes. So they don't take a deposit through. They don't do it with Airbnb, do they? Because I think I've had this conversation with them before.
You set up Stripe, plug your Stripe account into uplisting, and then you just turn your deposits on, and you can change the amount for each unit. So right now we're running with 150 quid for less than 3 beds. And anything more than the 3-bed property, 250 quid. Some of our Dubai properties have got like 500 quid, depending on the specs and stuff and what it is. But you can change it per property, and then it just automatically sends it through. Now with Airbnb, it doesn't send a deposit because it doesn't need to. It is only Booking.com bookings and I think Verbo that it automatically sends it to. I think your direct bookings and your Airbnb bookings, you have to manually send them the deposit link if that is what you want to do.
Okay, yeah.
Any more questions on that?
Can I just ask, Ryan, in regards to your cleaning software, how do you find that there's cleaners everywhere that use this software? Is there specific companies that you go for? How do you kind of find the right people that will use this software alongside you?
I employ all my cleaners on either consultancy basis or employed, typically a consultancy basis to start off with, via a Facebook advert, a Indeed advert, or whatever it might be. Look on Gumtree. There's plenty of cleaners advertising, and I basically say to them, if you want to work with me, this is what you have to do. So you have to use this app. You need to download it on your phone, and it has to be followed. And if they don't do it, then well, they don't work for us for very long. So I think you've got to be strict with your processes, because if someone breaks that system and decides they don't want to use it, that can have a knock-on effect to the business. If we can't file a damage claim, or if we haven't got sight on, any maintenance that needs to be done, or whatever it might be, it doesn't work, and I've had cleaners send emails in saying, oh, this is damaged and that's damaged. That's not how this works. It all goes on properly. And they might then do it again, and I'll be like, right, listen, we've told you twice. If you don't start using properly, this isn't going to work. And we just then replace them and get somebody else.
Okay, cool. That makes sense.
Awesome. Okay, so hopefully that's been helpful. I know some of you still haven't got your units, but when you get your units, hopefully that'll kick in. Does anybody have anything else they want to go over quickly before we wrap up that you need solving to, make sure that you move forward this week? Nope. Cool. All right. Well, just keep communicating in Voxer. I think that's working really well. I'm pleased with how that's working out for us all. And the more you use it, the more you'll get out of it. And everyone just keep moving forward. There's some great results. Keep sharing your results in the Facebook group as well. Encourage each other. Tell each other what's working. It is a community, and your network is your net worth and all that sort of stuff. It is true. The more people that you bounce off that are like-minded and heading in the same direction, the more fuel you get, and the more you push forward as well. So don't live in your own little bubbles. Get yourself out there. And Mike's going on a fitness journey with me. So less cakes, less mash.
Yeah, we'll see about that. I'm doing all right.
But,
3 days a week training. I'm starting tomorrow. So
good man.
My anniversary tomorrow, but I'll squeeze it in somewhere.
Good man. Rightio. Take care, everyone. I'll speak to you later on. Bye-bye.